All is well, student. Welcome you again in the second part of the video, that is named Empires and Kingdoms. Before starting the chapter, just take a recall of Pallav, Chalukyas and Pulkeshin Prashishti. The Pallavas of Kachi rose in 1754 CE under Simha Vishnu. They ruled over the northern Tamil Nadu and part of the southern Andhra Pradesh. Their capital was Kachipuram or Kachipuram, came to be known as the Golden City and emerged as an important center for culture, religion and education. The most important Pallav king were Mahindravarman I and Narasimhavarman I. Narasimhavarman defeated Pulkeshin II and captured Vatapi. After this, he assumed the title of Vatapi Konda, the conqueror of Vatapi. The Pallav made significant and lasting contribution in the fields of architecture and literature. The Pandyas of Madurai had established themselves in southern Tamil Nadu by the 6th century CE. They were to rule this region for many centuries. Their power depended on the relationship with their neighbors. There were frequent conflicts between the Chalukyas, the Pallavas, and the Pandyas of Madurai. So this was about the Pallavas, Chalukyas, and Pandyas. Students, as we are discussing about the new kingdoms and new empires and new kings in this chapter, so we have discussed about the Guptas, Chalukyas, Pallavas, Pulkeshins. So they were very important rulers, very important dynasties. So how were they administrated their kingdoms? As in the case of earlier kings, land revenue remained important for these rulers and the village remained the basic unit of administrations. There were some new development as well. Kings adopted a number of steps to win the support of men who were powerful either economically or socially or because of their political or military strength. Agriculture was the main source of income of this kingdom. Most of the revenue came from land. Merchants and craftspersons also paid taxes. The money collected was used for maintaining the army, for good administration, and to give grants and donations. Later, the rulers started giving lands, grants to religious leaders, temples, and monasteries. These periods saw many changes in administration. Most of the posts were hereditary. Thus, a son could now succeed to his father's post. At times, one officer was in charge of various responsibilities and could hold the post of different officers. Harisena was the Mahadandanayak and served as the chief judicial officer. He also held the post of Sandhi Vigraha, which means he was also a minister of war and peace. Besides this, Harisena held a hereditary post also and was a Kumaramitra and important minister. The empire had division called bhuktis, that is provinces. Each bhukti was in turn divided into districts known as Vaishyas. Each Vaishya had a group of villages. Governors of the provinces called Uparikas headed the bhuktis. The Vaishyapatis were the heads of the districts. A village headman and a group of elders helped to grow a village. City administration was in charge of chief scribes, writer and record keeper, a president and an important member of the merchants and artisan guilds to represent them. Some important people holding responsible posts were allowed to take part in administrative matters. They included Pratham Kayastha, that is head of scribes, Nagar Shrashti, that is chief merchants or banker of the cities, and Pratham Kulika, that is chief craftsperson, and Sartwa, that is leader of the merchant Karwas. Were the some important posts in the administration system of the kingdoms. Now we will talk about a new kind of army. Like earlier rulers, some of these kings maintain a well organized army with elephant chariots, cavalry, and foot soldiers. Besides, there were military leaders who provided the kings with troops whenever he needed them. They were not paid regular salaries. Instead, some of them received grant and land. They collected revenue from the land and used this to maintain soldiers and horses and provide equipment for warfare. These men were known as Samantas. Whenever the ruler was weak, Samantas tried to become independent. Now we will discuss about the assemblies in the southern kingdoms. The inscriptions of the Pallavas mention a number of local assemblies. These included the Sabha, which was an assembly of Brahman landowner. This assembly functions through the sub-committees which looked after irrigation, agricultural operations, making roads, local temple, etc. The Ur was a village assembly founded in areas where the landowners were not Brahmins, and the Nagaram was an organization of merchants. It is likely that these assemblies were controlled by rich people and the powerful landowners and the merchant. Many of these local assemblies continue to function for centuries. Under the Chalukyas, the administration was looked after by village elders, Mahajans. Government officers were involved in administration even at the village level. Both the Pallavas and Chalukyas maintained an army, and a part of their revenue went towards maintaining them. Now we will discuss about the ordinary people in the kingdom, how they lived in the kingdom, the life of the ordinary people. So the accounts of the Chinese pilgrim Fan and Yuanzhang and literary works like that of Kalidas provide information about the life of people in those times. The Charitas, historical biographies, and the Prashishtis are also important sources for understanding this period. They provide information like the genealogies of ruling dynasties, the title adopted by the kings, even leading up to their accessions, important battles, etc. Important Prashishti and Charitas of the period include the Prayag Prashishti, the Ahol Prashishti, and Harshcharita. We have discussed before also about this. The literature of this period deals mainly with the upper class and the court life. Kalidas has depicted the court life in his plays. In his work, most of the people of upper class, such as the king and the Brahmins, are shown speaking in Sanskrit, and while the common people speak in Prakrit. Students, the accounts of Ahin mentions a lot of information about the life of people in the Gupta's period. According to his accounts, the people were honest and simple and led happy, secure and prosperous lives. Crime was rare and punishment were not very severe. There were not too many restrictions and people were allowed considerable freedom. People did not have pay too many taxes. He also mentioned that there were many charitable institutions and rest houses. Zhang also talks about the life under the Harsh rule and mentioned that agriculture was the main occupation of the people. Traders and craftspersons lived in towns. People were simple and honest. They led peaceful lives. Most of the people were vegetarian and many of them avoided even garlic and onions. There was a rigid caste system and people were divided into various castes and subcastes also. So these were about the ordinary people in the kingdoms. And this was our chapter, New Kingdoms and Empires. I hope you have understood very well. Now it's time to say goodbye. We'll meet again with a new topic. Till then, take care.